Hello, I'm Sean Penrod, and welcome to MTG Pro Tutor. We're going to dive into this M15 booster pack and evaluate the cards inside. Thanks so much for joining me today. Let's see what we get. Alright, so the first thing I do is I always take out the marketing card and the land, and then I always look at the rare. We have Spirit Bonds. I really like Spirit Bonds. It's great. I'm probably going to first pick this card and then go pretty much all in on white, because what this card does is whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay white. If you do, put a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying onto the battlefield. And then, for 2 mana, you can sacrifice a spirit, and target non-spirit creature gains indestructible until end of turn. So, that is awesome. You can make spirits, and then you can sacrifice those spirits to make another creature indestructible. Very, very hard to interact with. There are only 4 ways to destroy enchantments in this entire set. One of them is white, Solemn Offering. The other 3 are green, Naturalize, the uncommon one that destroys all enchantments, and sorry, there's a third one. They're green though. Sorry about that. My mind just went blank. So it's hard to interact with these kind of enchantments. Just keep that in mind. So let's see what else we have here. We have Razorfoot Griffin, which is not bad. It's a 2/2 flying first strike for 4 mana. Welcome Turn, which is very good. A 2/1 flying for 2 mana. It can only block creatures with flying. Miner's Bane I have not used, and I have not seen it used against me yet. So take that for what it's worth. It's a 6/3 for 6 mana. I just think for 6 mana you can do much better than this guy. Ephemeral Shields. Target creature gains indestructible until end of turn. It does have Convoke, so you can surprise your opponent. That's kind of nice. Charging Rhino I've been very pleased with. A 4/4 for 5 mana that can only be blocked by 1 creature. Typhoid Rats is relevant in the early game and the late game. This is because it has Death Touch. Normally, a 1/1 creature for 1 mana is not worth it. It's not good. You can use that card slot for a card that affects the board more, that affects the game more. But with Death Touch, that's having a pretty good effect on the game. You can block early things, and you can block late things. Mind Rot, I'm not a big fan of. Maybe have in your sideboard if things get pinched, but I'm not really going to go out of my way to pick it. Undergrowth Scavenger, great in multiplayer games. One-on-one, he can get big if you have the right pieces. If you have like the Satyr Wayfinder and other ways to get cards into your graveyard, he could get pretty big. Radiant Fountain I don't like, because you don't want to screw up your mana base. You want to make sure you have the right proportion of the right ratio of the colors that you're drafting, and especially if you are splashing a 3rd color, you do not want to give up a land for a colorless mana. Fester Gloom, this is great against token decks because non-black creatures get -1/-1, and all the white tokens are either soldiers or spirits, which have 1 toughness. Wall of Essence, this is pretty good when you get to play it early on. Just kind of makes your opponent think twice about attacking, because for the first several turns they're probably not going to be able to get past it without giving you a bunch of life, so they just opt to not attack. I have drafted this card and then cut it out to put in things like artifact destruction or things like that, but that said, I still do draft it and put it in the deck. I've been pleased with Wall of Essence. Seraph of the Masses is good to have once you have a lot of once you drafted a triplicate spirit or 2 and maybe a Raise the Alarm. Once you know you're going to be pumping out a lot of creatures, then Seraph of the Masses becomes much better, because it is a 7 casting cost creature. She does have Convoke, which is nice, but you're going to need a lot of creatures to make her worth it. And finally, Overwhelm, another 7 converted mana cost spell. I don't like this one at all, because here's the thing. Until end of turn, creatures you control get +3/+3. It has Convoke, so you need to tap creatures to give creatures +3/+3. That doesn't make any sense to me. It just seems a little confusing. So if you don't want to tap any creatures so that all your creatures get +3/+3, then you need 7 mana, which seems a bit expensive. So I have not I have not used Overwhelm yet, and I actually haven't seen it used against me. That's not saying it's not good. I'm sure it fits somewhere. Maybe you can tap all your little tokens to give your bigger creatures +3/+3, but it just hasn't come together for me yet. So I'm definitely first picking Spirit Bonds in this pack. The ability to make spirits and then sack those spirits to make things indestructible is hands down quite powerful. So I'm going to take Spirit Bonds. I'm going to look for triplicate spirits. I'm going to look for, cheap non-token creatures. Arisco Swiftclaw, Selfless Cathar, anything that I can do to put down cheap things to make spirits, because in the early parts of the game, when your opponent doesn't have much to respond, you can really pump out a spirit army and attack him for quite a few damage here and there with those spirits, and then later on in the game just start using those spirits to save your bigger creatures. It's really amazing. So I like Spirit Bonds a lot. Thanks so much for joining me today. You're awesome for taking the time to watch this video. I'm Sean Penrod, and we'll see you in the next pack.